Welcome, folks. This is an unboxing of the latest issue of Strategy and Tactics magazine. This is issue number 347, including the game Operation Holland, and this has just arrived courtesy of Decision Games, so thanks and shout out to Decision Games. Now, this is part of a series called Alternate Battles of the Bulge, led by Ty Bomba. And the premise here, in the case of Operation Holland, is what the battle might have looked like if it did not have its main thrust going through the Ardennes, but through northern Belgium and the southern Netherlands instead, which is itself an interesting concept. And you can see, I think, that, let's say, the terrain is somewhat less congested than that in the Ardennes. And that might have made a significant difference. And you probably can't see it in frame here, but as is the case with relatively few straightforward Bulge games, Antwerp is actually on the map. Now, alternate history stuff's not exactly my forte, but, you know, as Mark Herman has pointed out on a number of occasions, once you start actually pushing pieces around, they're all alternate history. So I can live with this, especially in this type of format, in that it's a magazine game, it's relatively small, it's going to be relatively easy to play. There is a full counter sheet, we'll have a look at that at the end, but let's take a look at the magazine first. And again, this is issue number 347. So, opening her right up, and I will talk about the ads because they're mostly all for war games. Coral Sea Solitaire and Drive on Stalingrad. This ought to be out pretty soon. It will be getting demoed at Origins, unless I'm very much mistaken. Check for that in the War Games HQ or Armchair Dragoons area, or possibly over in the Decision Games booth, although I think this is over in the Armchair Dragoons area. And Decision is going to be demoing some stuff on their side as well in the actual dealer's room. New series coming up in World at War magazine, which I am pretty excited about personally. This is called Campaigns in Europe, and it is sort of a distillation and breakdown of war in Europe. I will be bringing you some coverage on this when it becomes available. I have already brought you some coverage on War Plan Z, which is another alternate history thing, but it's another one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm not super duper into that, but I kind of digging what I see of this so far. And this is punched and ready to go. So, inside the magazine, we got a big table of contents here. I'm not going to go through that in detail because we'll actually flip through the magazine. Here is the Battle of the Bulge. That might have been the showcase article by Ty Bomba. We've got the 21st Army Group Order of Battle on 16 December 1944, Allied situation in the north, logistical structure in the north. So as we can see, instead of the thrust historically that happened this way over in the Ardennes, in the case of this game, it's going to be happening right here. So kind of a direct drive to Antwerp as opposed to trying to hook under it from the south. Allied November offensives by the 21st Army Group. The maps in the magazine are, as usual, first rate. Here's a little sidebar on combat air support and armed reconnaissance. Very curious to see about that. Here is the game rules, and as usual, these are going to be removable from the magazine with care. They're kind of glued onto this customer response card / subscription card type of thing. And if we flip through this, we're going to see that the game looks pretty straightforward. It's 16 pages of rules, as are almost all of these. It has even got a room for an ad here. Latest games from Desert Fox Games, including some stuff from Revolution Games and Legion War Games, and for that matter, GMT. Oh, classic war games available now as well. This includes a bunch of stuff from 3W and Uquinto and Excalibur and even metagames. And this isn't like reprinted stuff. This is like the actual old stuff. You can still get all this from shop.decisiongames.com. Not a sponsor, but they were kind enough to provide the magazine. So this really is shorter than 16 pages, considering there's at least 3 pages of advertisement in the game rules, which is 16 pages. So game rules are more about 12 pages, which again, given my interest level in the topic in general of alternate reality stuff, is probably a good thing for me. Here's the end of the U.S. 9th Army's November offensive. Here's a design column on the game by Joe Miranda, who is not the designer. Ty Bomba is the designer. Here is an ad for those folks who bought the newsstand version. The Warlord Cow Cow, probably mispronouncing that, by Kelly Bell. This is interesting. I, of course, remember an old computer game called Romance of the Seven Kingdoms, which has been redone or revised or whatever you want many, many times at this point. You can still get some version of it on Steam. Haven't touched it in decades. So I actually recognize the name, the Warlord Cow Cow. So this will be super duper interesting. East Asian military history is not something we in the West in historical war games have generally been very good at or taken much interest in, and I think that's a real missed opportunity. This is something I don't know what this is. China, the Middle Kingdom, covers the full scope of Chinese history from its beginnings as a collection of warring feudal states to the current Cold War between China and Taiwan. Epic game based on the classic Avalon Hill Britannia system. 4 players each control several factions simultaneously, with each faction having their own objectives and situations. Why do I not know about this already? This sounds intriguing. We shall have to investigate that. Here's the Dade Massacre by Patrick S. Baker. This is something else I don't know anything about at all, but it is something that happens in the Second Seminole War, as is obvious from the maps on the following pages. So this is interesting. This sort of early American stuff, too. We've seen more attention paid to that, obviously, but it's still, there's a lot to be uncorked in this period of, say, pre-American Revolution North America. There are certainly no shortage of games on those topics, but there's not as much as there could be. FoxCon Dallas 2024. This is Decision Games' new convention, and it is, you can get some information on it at foxconn.card with 2 R's.co, and it's happening over Veterans Day weekend in Dallas. This will be interesting. I already know some people who have signed up to go for that. The Battle of Apbac, Second Indochina War. This is Vietnam prior to the involvement of Americans in a combat role, let's put it that way. Yes, early 60s. So this will be interesting too. I am becoming more interested in Vietnam stuff, although I'm still not at all interested in Vietnam tactical stuff, so this is, I'm going to eat this up. Here's an ad for the Axis Empires Ultimate Edition, which I've already shown you and which is really, really good. World War I Australian Light Horse by Joe Miranda. The Australians will be delighted. Here's an upcoming feature, Korea the Mobile War, which looks like it's going to be a couple issues from now. This is a point-to-point game. It's going to be in S&T Magazine. Curious to see this one as well. And here's the Did You Know? There's always a lot of interesting tidbits here that I am interested to read, and they're in tasty little bite-sized chunks. Here's a quote from Chesty Puller, always welcome. Von der Height and Modern Irregular Warfare, that'll be interesting. Spice Ships and Global Naval Warfare. Bolshevik Broadside Brigades. Valerie Andre, Pilot and Paratrooper. Interesting. Here's Flashpoint Africa by Javier Romero Munoz. About the Sudan War and Jordan by Andrew Mulholland. Here's Gilberto Villahermosa's article on Russia's Combat Army Reserve. Not sure there's any of them left. Here's a Patrick S. Baker piece on the Philippines versus China. Here is Message Jonas. Not sure I'm not ruining that. Develitazione Bellica and Modern War. I'm probably mangling that too, so I'll just ruin the entire article for you. I'm not sure what this is about. The Battle of Tamai, 1881. This is something that happens in Africa. Lots of good military history combat in here, content in here, and it's not all about the Battle of the Bulge either, which is nice. It was the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk by Arnold Bloomberg. That's actually super duper interesting. This is the treaty that ends World War I on the Eastern Front, because Lenin didn't want to be fighting the Germans as well as other Russians. So here you can see Trotsky here. Soviet Kirov-class cruisers. This would be interesting to those interested in certain current events. Wonder if this is one of those that's sitting on the bottom of the Black Sea right now, by Carl O. Schuster. Lots of good magazine content. Alternative strategies for World War I in the next S&T Quarterly. That sounds interesting as well. I need to start picking these up because I have like one issue and it was good. But they've really been doing some very interesting topics of late in the S&T Quarterly. Ooh, and here's a review by Brendan White of the Cambridge History of the Napoleonic Wars. I have only read one of these Cambridge history books, and it wasn't on the Napoleonic Wars. I think it was on the Middle Ages, and man, was it dry. Decision Games will be exhibiting at these conventions. So, news you can use here, folks. Origins in Columbus, 19 through 23 June. Concept World Expo in Tempe, Arizona in mid-July. HCon in Lancaster. I guess that's Historicon in Lancaster, PA. Later July. WBC in even later July. So, This is looking like a very busy month, Doc. What are you doing? WBC, I should be at WBC for about a day, plus Pacificon, which is at least on their side of the country, in August and early September, and Foxconn in November, and BGG Fall Hootenanny in a weekend after that. So an exciting slate of conventions that Decision will be at here. Ooh, here's Mega Survey, S&T Mega Feedback Survey results. And that helps Decision to kind of shape what's coming in, down the line. And as you can see, they're planning rather far ahead, out into at least 2029. And there is some interesting things on the slate for them as well. But to be honest, campaigns in Europe is the thing that has me most excited at the moment, in part because it's right around the corner. Here's the long tradition of S&T Magazine. 100 issues ago, Holy Roman Empire, don't have this. S&T 147, Holy War Afghanistan, don't have that. And Wolfpack, this is on my list from S&T 47, a James Dunnigan classic. They've got back issues and stuff too. And here's some ads at the end. I'll need to pick that up. Grant's Overland Campaign. So, Operation Holland, that's been a look at the magazine. So let's take a quick look at the counters. They are on the newer, thicker Decision Brown Core stock. These are 5/8 inch counters from the look of them. I'm not getting out the micrometer to double check. And as you can see, everything looks very straightforward. There's one factor on the counters. But we do have differentiation between armor and, for example, infantry type units and even some commandos here. And they're, of course, double-sided. So nice looking counters, nice and clean. I don't see any registration problems or anything like that. So this has been a quick look at Operation Holland from the latest issue of Strategy and Tactics magazine, which is shipping to subscribers right now. It's issue number 347, so give it a look. I will include a link to the product page in the video description, so thanks for watching.
Massive thanks to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, whose support and encouragement make what we do at Ardwulf's Lair possible. Thank you, patrons. Links to help support the channel are in the video description, so check out the Patreon, the Ko-Fi, and the merch store where you can get snazzy Ardwulf's Lair t-shirts, drinking vessels, and other cool swag. There is also an affiliate link for Noble Knight Games in the video description. If you buy stuff through that affiliate link, it helps us support the channel with Noble Knight store credit. Thank you, Noble Knight. Until next time, thanks for watching, and happy gaming.